Welcome back to another wonderful lesson on geometry. I hope you guys have been keeping up with your lessons and you guys are pros on types of angles. And so today we're actually going to we're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to start measuring some angles and creating some angles. But first, before we jump in, let's go ahead and do some mental math so we can get those mental math skills going, okay? As always, with these mental math problems, you guys can always pause the video when you need to. And then make sure that you pause the video before we get to the answer, just in case you need some time. I want to make sure that everybody here gets a chance to really practice those mental math skills, okay? Here we go. We're going to start with the number 4, okay? Now, to that number, to 4, I want you to add the number of minutes in an hour. Okay? Now, we are going to divide that number by 8. Okay? So we're dividing by 8. Our last step is to now divide by 4. All right. Are we ready for that answer? If you're not, hit that pause button. All right. The answer to today's mental math is 2. Nice job. Let's go ahead and continue. All right, let's talk about supplies we're going to need for today. For today, you are going to need your student book. Okay? You're also going to need your home connections book. There's a home connections assignment today, so that means that we are going to have to write reflections. All right? You're also going to need a pencil and your protractor. So we've been talking about these the last couple of days, especially with the circumference story, the story about radius. And we connected that medallion looked a lot like our protractors. So please make sure you grab these. All right, if you have your supplies ready to go, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and open up our student books to page 176. Okay. And at the top of the page, it should say experimenting with angle measures, angle measurement, page 1 of 2. All right. I'm going to switch my angle up a little bit on the camera so that you guys can see what I'm doing, and I want you to follow along. All right. So we're on page 176. Again, you're going to need your pencils, protractors, and if you have them, your pattern blocks. I have mine, so if you don't have yours, you can just look on the screen and follow along with me. All right. All right, so the top of your page should look like this. All right. And if we're looking at the directions below, it says for each angle, estimate how many degrees you think it measures. So we're going to write down those answers down in the table below. Okay. So for angle 1, 2, and 3, the first thing we're going to do is estimate. How many degrees do we think each of these angles is? Okay, let's use our knowledge of types of angles to at least get a number that's going to be very, very close. Okay, for angle 1, for example, this would be an acute angle. We know it's going to be less than 90 degrees. Okay, if we divide 90 degrees in half, it'll be about 45 degrees here. So it might be greater than 45 degrees. So I want you to take a guess. What do you think the measurement for angle 1 is? If it has to be less than 90, but it looks like it's going to be greater than 45, what do we think it's going to be? And I want you to write that down in this first space here. I'm going to go ahead and estimate that it's about 60 degrees because 60 is higher than 45, but less than 90. So I'm going to write 60 degrees right in there, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing for number 2. Angle number 2 is also an acute angle. But it looks like it's about 45 degrees, maybe less. So I want you to write that down in box number, in the second line here, where it says how many degrees. Okay? So whatever your guess is. Now, for angle number 3, again, it looks like it's greater now this time. Using our knowledge of types of angles, we know that this is going to be greater than 90 degrees. It's larger than a right angle. We know that a straight line is 180. So we have to determine, is it closer to 90 or closer to 180? And what do we think that angle measurement is going to be? I want you to give it your best guess. Okay? Great. So our next step for each angle, B says, use a pattern block to check the measure. So we're not using our protractors just yet. I am going to go ahead and grab my pattern blocks. If you have yours, go ahead and grab yours as well. And again, as I said, if you do not have yours, that is okay. I want you to just follow along and observe while I use my pattern blocks. So I'm going to take a look at angle number 1. Angle number 1, my estimate was that it was about 60 degrees. So I'm going to take my pattern block with 60 degrees on it, and I'm going to fit it right into this angle here. And look at that. I made a decent estimate, almost too decent. And so I fit that pattern block of the triangle that had 360-degree angles right in there. So that tells me that my estimate was correct. Okay? Let's take a look at that second one. That second angle, let me see. Let me find a pattern block. I'm going to use this pattern block, this really thin, small one that measured 30 degrees there. I'm going to fit it in, and look at that. This angle measures about 30 degrees according to my pattern block. Okay? Now I'm going to use a third pattern block to look at angle number 3. And now this one here, all of these angles measure 120 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and place this inside. And look at that. That fits right into this angle here of 120 degrees. Okay? So by using pattern blocks, we're also able to determine the measurement of some angles. Okay? Now for this second step, we didn't need to write anything down. But now we are going to use our protractors to get an exact measurement. Okay? So let's go ahead and grab our protractors. Okay? Your protractors should have the numbers visible, okay, on this side. They're clear and you can flip them, so please make sure that you're being careful. And if the numbers look backwards or upside down, you have your protractor upside down, okay? So please make sure that you can read the numbers like this, all right? Some protractors will have a little circle right in the middle bottom of your protractor. And so that is where you're going to meet your vertex. Your vertex is this middle point right here where the two lines are separating or moving away from. So you want to line up your center hole. This one does not have one. I know many of them do. But mine just tells a little line right in the middle that tells me where my vertex should be. Okay? I'm also going to make sure that my bottom line here aligns with the bottom of my protractor. And it's going to be pointing to 0. And I'm going to be looking for a 0. So you can see that this protractor right here, the 0 is right here. So wherever the 0 is, it's going to tell me where I'm going to, which line I'm going to read to get my measurement. Okay? So this one tells me that this bottom line here is where my measurement is going to be, since the 0 is here at this bottom line. So to measure my angle, what I'm going to do is I am going to look where the second line crosses the protractor. So once I've determined that my line is on 0 and my vertex is lined up, I can go ahead and look to the other line and where it crosses my protractor. This tells me it's crossing right at 60 degrees. Does everybody see that? So again, the 0 is this bottom line here. So this is the line I'm going to read to tell me the measurement of my angle. In this protractor, when it's lined up to this vertex, is going to tell me that it's 60 degrees. Now, if you're not seeing that, there's a couple of things you might be doing. First of all, you might not be lining up your vertex with this corner of this angle. Okay? Again, if you're looking at the numbers and you're like, I don't see 60, but I see 110 and 70, but they're backwards, we probably have our protractor upside down. Okay? And the other thing that you might be seeing is that you're reading the top number here as 120 degrees. We know that this measurement would not be 120 degrees because if we're looking at just the angle, we see that it's an acute angle and it's less than 90 degrees. So the reading of 120 would not be correct. So let's go ahead and fill out our form for angle number 1. Let's go ahead and where it says how many degrees it is, go ahead and write in 60 degrees. Okay? That was the actual measurement of your angle. Make sure that you put your little degree symbol at the top. I'm getting a little lazy here, I'm sorry. All right, and we're gonna move on and do the same thing with all 3 of these angles. So again, this is gonna be really good practice of reading and measuring angles. You're gonna take your center point and you're going to measure it to, or you're gonna line it up with your vertex. You're gonna see where your 0 is. So again, it's the bottom line here, okay? And we're gonna follow that bottom line to where my angle or my second line in my angle meets my protractor. So I can see that it's right here, it's 30 degrees. All right. So let's go ahead and write that down below again, right here, where it says angle number 2, how many degrees the actual measure. Let's go ahead and fill that in, okay? Let's move on to angle number 3. With angle number 3, again, I'm gonna line up my center point of my protractor on my vertex, that little corner where the 2 lines meet. I am going to again check that one line matches the bottom of the protractor and lines up with 0. And so again, I'm gonna read this bottom line. And now I'm gonna look to where the protractor crosses, where the line crosses my protractor with this bottom line. And if I follow this line, I can see that it's actually going to be 120 degrees right there, right where it crosses. Again, this first line. If you need to double check your answer and you're like, well, I think it's 60 degrees, take a look at your angle. Could this be a 60-degree angle? 60-degree angles would be acute, and this is definitely an obtuse angle. So knowing the types of angles will also help you measure with your protractor. Okay? So good. So our third one is 120 degrees. Go ahead and make sure that you have filled out your table. All right, let's move on to page 177. Top of page 177 looks like this. It still says experimenting with angle measurement, and this one is page 2 of 2. Number 4, let's look at number 4 real quickly. It says, Lance says the angle below measures about 120 degrees. Do you agree or disagree with her? Explain your answer. So go ahead and pause the video here to record your answer for number 4. All right, hopefully you guys were using your very, very well-known angle types to answer that question. So I expect a full answer for number 4. Let's take a look at number 5. Number 5 says, using a protractor, construct a 60-degree angle below or on a separate piece of paper. Let me tell you, there's plenty of space for us to build a 60-degree angle right here. So we don't need a separate piece of paper. Check your work with a pattern block and include the pattern block in your angle sketch, okay? Since not all of you may have your pattern blocks, let's go ahead and just cross that last part out. You don't need to include a pattern block for number 5, okay? So what I'm gonna do is show you how to build an angle, okay? My favorite thing to do, the way that I like to do them is that I like to start by creating a simple straight line going across. So I'm gonna use a ruler for this one. A lot of you guys have some really great protractors that have rulers at the bottom. That is great. My protractor is a little different. It's got almost like it's got little teeth or something. So I am not going to use mine to draw my bottom line, but if you have a protractor with a straight bottom, almost like a ruler, go ahead and use that. I'm going to create a line going across the bottom here. And I'm going to start and place it right about there. I'm not going to go all the way across. I don't need to go all the way across. So I'm just going to build a line like that, straight line, okay? Now, I'm going to pull my vertex here. And I'm just going to put that little dot there to remind myself that that is going to be the center of my angle, which means that this other side of the line, I'm going to put a little arrowhead on there to show me which way it's going to start off. Now, these are really good to have because they will help you when you're locating measurement on your protractor, because the arrow will point to the 0 and then telling you which line you need to follow to create your angle. Great. So I'm going to grab my protractor. So hopefully you guys still have your protractors in hand. I'm going to line up the center point on my protractor with my vertex, the little dot here in the center. Okay. And I want to make sure that the line is on the 0. So here I have my vertex and I have my line there on 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find 60 on this line, okay? So I'm going to follow this top line here because that's where the 0 is. And I'm going to go all the way till I find 60. And 60 is up here. What I'm going to do, it's okay if it's on the writing, okay? I'm going to put a little point right outside of my protractor where I found 60. 60 is right there. And put a line right at the top of the protractor like that, okay? So now I've created my other point. I know it's in the writing, but I'm just going to show you how we build these angles, okay? The last step in creating this angle is that I'm going to connect that dot that I just made with my vertex. So if you want to take the bottom of your protractor or a ruler, whichever is most helpful, I'm going to just draw a line that connects those 2 points. And I'm going to finish this off by creating this little arrow right there. Okay? So now the angle in here is 60 degrees. Okay? So again, just to review really quickly, when we're building a angle, we want to start off with a bottom line and our vertex. And then we want to take our protractor, find the measurement of the angle we need, create a dot outside of our protractor, and then connect those 2 dots to create an angle. All right? For the rest of the day, let's go ahead and take a look at number 6. Number 6 is your challenge for today, and I want you to complete this. It says, look around your classroom. Obviously, we're not in our classroom, so I want you to do this in your homes. It could be in your bedroom, kitchen, anywhere that is safe for you to look for angles. It says, look around your home for acute angles. Acute angles, again, are less than 90 degrees. Choose several. For each angle you choose, estimate first, okay? So take a really good guess. What do you think that measurement is going to be? And then using your protractor, I want you to actually measure the angles around your home. And again, they have to be acute angles, so they have to be less than 90 degrees. So this might be an actual challenge, but you guys have your entire home to look for those, okay? So your assignment for today is to finish that challenge in your student book. And then I want you to move on to page 93 and 94 in your home connections book. Fortunately, there are protractors already in these in your home connection in these problems. So please make sure you use a protractor that's already there. This is just practice in reading protractors. And so there are 5 questions on protractor measurements of angles, okay? And if you guys have any questions, you know I am free during office hours to help you guys out with these. I love geometry, as I've said many, many times before. So please feel free to contact me with any questions. I'd love to talk to you about it. All right? That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.